Hi, I've got my board set up and the top of my head is cut off, so oh well, I'd rather you see the math than my head. Okay, so we're going to work on reviewing multiplying and dividing by powers of 10. So you can think of Veronica, you can think of Mr. Dole, and just place value in general. So what I'll do is I'll just kind of show you the questions and then do the work on the board. So this is interesting because I was carrying this paper out to my car and I laid the dry erase eraser on top of the paper to carry it, and then it just got super dirty. So, oh well, I guess we can still read it. Okay, so number 1 says, okay, hang on because I got to see it too. Okay, number 1 says, what is the place value of the 5 in the numbers 7,253 and 189 thousandths? I'm going to start with that question. Okay, so we have our decimal, and then don't forget the ones place is always going to be to the left of the decimal. So this is not the ones place. These are our decimal amounts, okay? So we've got the ones place, and then to the right of the decimal, we have tenths, hundredths, and thousandths. Remember, all of the decimal places have that TH at the end. So the question says, what is the place value of the 5 in the number? So the place that the 5 is in would be the tens place. The digit is a 5, so then its value would be 50. It's worth 50. If you have trouble figuring that out or remembering that, you can always just fill in the rest of the digits with a 0 and then ignore the ones that came before. So I could put 50, or I could even put my decimal and 3 more zeros, but it's still going to equal 50. So then it says on that same question, it says, where would the 5 have to be in a new number if its place value is 10 times the value of the 5 in the original number? So 10 times means 10 times greater. And of course, if a digit gets 10 times greater, it's going to move one place to the left. Or if we think of Mr. Doll and we could move the decimal instead, we're multiplying, so we could move the decimal one place to the right. Okay, so either move the decimal to the right or move the digit to the left when it gets 10 times bigger. So now it would be in the hundreds place to answer that question. And then the value would be 500. Okay, number 2. Whoops. Okay, just ignore my crooked 2. I was looking down at the paper, but we have 22,222. It's driving me crazy. Okay, there we go. 22,222. It says, which digit holds a place value that is 1/10 the value of the underlined digit in the number 22,222? Okay, so here's our digit. It's currently in the hundreds place. It's worth 200. And it wants us to decide which digit is 1/10 that value. And they use a fraction to show 1/10. So 1/10, or 1 piece out of 10, means they want the digit to be 10 times smaller. Or you could even say divided by 10. And so to do that, we would either move a decimal, if we're dividing, we could move it to the left, or we could also think about the digit shifting to the right if it's getting 10 times smaller. So that would be the 2 that is in the tens place. And if you had this question on a quiz or anything, that's exactly what the answer choices look like. And so it would be the 2 in the tens place, or answer choice B. Be careful because they're probably trying to trick you with D because it says the 2 in the 10,000s place. So if you were just reading quickly and saw 10, you might accidentally choose the wrong answer. So just be careful on questions like that. Number 3 says, Andre earned 2 5/10 times 10 to the third power, or 10 cubed, dollars at work last month. How much did Andre earn written in standard form? Okay, it says he earned this many dollars at work. So when you get a job and somebody's like, how much did you make today? You're not going to say, oh, I made 2 5/10 times 10 to the third power dollars. I mean, that would be crazy. So they've given us the amount. They want us to just write it in standard form the way you would normally see a number written. So remember that 10 to the third power means a 1 with 3 zeros, so it means 1,000. So you could multiply with the standard algorithm 2.5 times 1,000, or remember it also means 10 to the third also means 10 times 10 times 10. So we're moving the digits 3 times, or we're moving the decimal 3 times because we're multiplying by 10 3 times. And I can also just look at my exponent and see, okay, 3. So if I have my original number and I think of Mr. Dowell, we've used him a lot this year. If I think of Mr. Dowell, I am multiplying in the problem. It's multiplying, and so my decimal is going to move to the right, and it's going to move 3 times to the right. So if I just go ahead and add some zeros, I'll stop there. And so I can move 1, 2, 3 places to the right, and then erase my original decimal. Okay, so Andre earned $2,500. That's a lot more practical than saying 2.5 times 10 to the third power dollars. Okay? All right, number 4 is very similar. Okay, here we go. I'm really excited because I opened a brand new pack of dry erase markers, and that's just really exciting. That's why I'm using 3 different colors, and because it helps you see it better, but also because I just love the new markers. Yay! Okay, so we just have this problem, and it asks, what is this number written in standard form? The same process as before. I know that 10 to the 5th power is 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10, 5 times. So I can rewrite my number that I'm multiplying by, and I'm going to move my decimal 5 places. Since I'm multiplying, if I think of Mr. Dowell, since I am multiplying, I'm going to move the decimal to the right 5 times, or 5 places. So I'm going to go ahead and add a few more zeros, and then I can move that decimal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Please remember when you're doing problems like this that you're moving the decimal between digits. So the decimal is not going to move underneath the 0 or underneath the 6. It started between the 3 and the 0. It moves between these 2 digits, between. I could add a 0 there, and it would be between 2 zeros, or since it's just a whole number, I can leave it off. Okay, so if I put my commas, 1, 2, 3, comma, 1, 2, 3, so it equals 306,500. Number 5 says, which value is equivalent to the 4th number in the pattern below? Okay, so they have 10 to the 1st power, 10 to the 3rd power, 10 to the 5th power, and then a blank. So it's like a little pattern, and I know that each time the exponent is increasing by 2, I go from 1 to 3 to 5, sorry. Okay, so the next one would be 10 to the 7th power. But then if I look at my answer choices, they don't have any exponents in the answer choices. They just have what it would equal. So I know that this 7 exponent, if I'm working with 10 as my base, I know that it's going to be a 1 with 7 zeros. Okay, I start with ones, tens, hundreds, comma, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s, comma. So I have 10 million, which would be choice C. And again, be careful. If you were taking this on a test of any kind, chances are that it'd be really easy to just choose the wrong answer because of you were 1 0 off. I know it's easy to do, but my goodness, that would be a crazy reason to miss a problem. So be careful that you count your zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Count carefully. Look at the choices carefully. Make sure your commas are in the right places. That will help you find the right answer as well. Okay, the next problem says, which number will be in the thousandths place after solving the problem below? And we have 518 divided by 10 cubed, or 10 to the third power. So this one is just slightly different. It's not asking us for the answer. It's not asking us for the number in standard form. It just asks which digit or which number would be in the thousandths place after we solve. Okay, so if I think of Mr. Dole, this time I'm not multiplying, I am dividing. Okay, so if I divide, my decimal is going to move to the left, and it's going to move 3 places to the left. Even though this is still 10 times 10 times 10, we are dividing 518 by this amount. So we're going to move the decimal to the left. And in this number originally, I don't have a decimal listed, but I know that the decimal always comes after the ones place. So I'm going to start my decimal here, and then I'm going to move 3 places to the left. Again, I'm going between the numbers. So here's my new decimal, and of course I could put a 0 just to represent the whole numbers. Okay, so then if I go back to my question, it says which number will be in the thousandths place, So I have tenths, hundredths, thousandths. Make sure you know which decimal place is which. That's not going to go away. After 5th grade, you need to know those decimal places. So tenths, hundredths, thousandths. Okay, that's just something to kind of put in your brain. So the answer would be the digit 8. Okay, and then we have 2 6400ths times 10 squared. Again, I know that 10 squared would equal 100, or 10 times 10. If I think of Mr. Dole, I'm moving the decimal to the right because I'm multiplying, and I'm going to move it 2 times to the right. Okay, so I could just take it and move it, and my answer would be 264. Okay, oops, that's a little bit light there. Okay, hopefully you can see that. 264. All right. The next one, the next few are actually kind of like create your own, so you can sort of practice this. It says if 247 8500ths is the answer, write an expression that would be equal to this answer. Use either multiply or divide by a power of 10, like we did in class. So if I know that the answer is 247 8500ths. So if you want to, you can pause the video and try to make up your own problem that would equal this, and then see what I came up with after. Okay, so what I'm thinking is I'm going to have the same digits. That's not going to change. I might put it down here, or I'll put it up here. So 24785. Okay, so let's say that I want to start with my decimal here. Okay, that's 2 places to the left here, but to get back to where the answer is, I would have to move it 2 places to the right. So I know that if I move the decimal to the right, I'm going to multiply with Mr. Dole, and so then I would put 10 to the 2nd power. Okay, so if I took this and multiplied, I would end up with this answer, which is what the question asked. Okay, for number 9, same thing. It says if 5 and 106 thousandths is the answer, write an expression that would be equal to this. So again, you're going to create your own Mr. Dole problem to try to make it equal 5 and 106 thousandths. So pause the video and then come back. Okay, so I'm sure you came up with something much more fancy and intricate. Let's see. I think I'm going to start out with 5,106. So this is a comma, not my decimal. So I know that to get here, from here, this is where my decimal would be. I would end up moving to the left. Okay, so dull, left, the D stands for divide. And I would divide by 1 to 3 powers of 10. So I would have 5,106 divided by 10 cubed, or 10 to the third power. And that would equal 5 and 106 thousandths. Last one, same thing. If 13 and 2/10 is the answer, write an this is weird. Write an expression that would be equal to this answer by multiplying or dividing by a power of 10. So pause the video and then come back. Okay, for this one, 13 and 2/10 is the answer. Let's see. Okay, again, this is a comma, not a decimal. Hopefully you can see that. 13,200. So my decimal would start past the ones place, which is here. So then I would have to move to the left. So I'm going to be dividing again. And I would move 1, 2, 3. I didn't mean to make it 3 again. I thought I was being fancy and making it like 4 or 5, but I was afraid I would run out of room. So, okay, it's the same as this one. But if I divide, I'm going to move to the left, move my decimal to the left 3 places, which would equal 13 and 2/10.